Hello and welcome to Schneider and Tierman Group. This is our third installment for final expenses, and this one is going to be about the presentation given in the house. The first thing that you want to be able to do is as you're walking up to the door and you're knocking on the door, you want to make sure, and I wear this all the time, and I wear it like a badge, and this is going to be this is the small portion of my life insurance license that I actually laminated. I put it in a plastic sleeve. I've got a cord that I can wear around my neck, and I've got a clip that clips it together. That will automatically put Jane at ease when she's opening up that door, and I've introduced myself to let her know it's like, hey, I'm Michael. I'm here for our appointment that we've got today. Once you're in the house, you establish, a little bit of control by asking Jane, is there a table that we can go to and sit down for a few minutes, and we'll go over all this information. As you're kind of going to the table and you're sitting down, and you need to be able to spend maybe about the next 5-6 minutes developing a little bit of rapport with her again, make her feel comfortable in talking with you, ask her how she's feeling. I always ask my clients, as I'm walking in to see them for an appointment, how you doing today, Jane? Is everything going okay for you? You feeling pretty good? And you kind of expand on whatever those answers may be. If nothing else, you can always talk about the weather. Here in Michigan, the stuff changes every 15 minutes anyway. But you're going to spend that few minutes, making her feel comfortable and comfortable talking with you and develop a little bit more rapport. Then I will look at Jane and I'll say, before we talk about anything else, I want to show you this. And I'll take my badge, I'll unclip it, and I'll hand Jane my license. And I'll say, Jane, this is my license from the state, just to show you I'm licensed to be able to talk to you about all this information and go over all of this with you. Unfortunately, with the world we live in today, there are so many scams out there, it's not even funny. I used to carry my license in my bag, but now I carry it right out on my badge so that people can see right away. I'm a real person that has to go through this. And for me, I see people that are anywhere from 45 to 85 years old. Almost everybody's living on a fixed income. They're either on Social Security or they're on disability. It's rare that I'll find anybody that even has a pension or a second job that kind of goes with it, for some supplemental income. We talked a lot yesterday about going through some earth burials and things like that, and that's really what you were interested in. Have you had an opportunity to kind of to see how much those things cost these days for earth burials? And Jane did. She'll tell me, yes, I did. I actually went to check my funeral home. That's it's only about a block away from me. They told me it was going to be about $7,500 to $8,000. Is what it's going to cost me to do that. Okay, yep, you're right. That's what it does cost today, and that's a pretty good price actually. I've seen people spend a lot more. I've seen people spend a little bit less. So that sounds like a pretty good a funeral home, and that's where you want to go. Yep. Okay, great. Well, we went through some of the medical questions yesterday, but let's go through the rest of these things here, and let's make sure I can get the right carrier for you that offers you the highest benefit for the least amount of money. So I'll pick Monumental. I already know that Jane is a 65-year-old woman. She's a non-smoker. I got that from yesterday, so I already know that part of it, and I'm almost positive that Monumental, which has great prices for people that are 65 years old and in moderate to good health, and especially those that are non-smokers. So I'm pretty sure she'll qualify for that, but I need to double check. The last thing you want to do is to start quoting prices from a particular carrier, and then you go through the application process and you find out that there's no way this person's going to qualify. And now you got to start all over again. It doesn't make you look professional. It doesn't make you look like you actually know what's going on. So I will grab the application at that point, and I'll go through every single medical question on there, and I'll ask her every one of those to make sure that that's what she qualifies for. When we're done, I'll say, okay, well, that's cool. Looks like you are going to qualify for the best carrier I've got, so let me see what I can do for you. At that point, I'll fill out the pitch sheet. And the pitch sheet is this right here. It's available on the website under the agent login page for everybody. As you can see, there's if you can make that out, there's room for 2 names up on top, Jane and a spouse if there was one. There's also room for 4 benefits for each person underneath that. There's room for the carriers if they happen to be different from husband to wife. There's also room for notes. We encourage and certainly tell every agent, make sure you put your name and your telephone number on there, then today's date. The draft date, which is the other date that's on there, you'll fill that out later on once you find that out. But whether Jane gets anything or not, I'm going to leave her this pitch sheet for the day, no matter what happens. So I'll fill that out, and we go through all of that information. I've got this down here. I know what I'm going to do now. I know the carrier. I know the benefits I'm gonna put on here. I actually started out with about $7,500. That's what Jane thought. 75 to 80 to 8,000 was what it was going to cost her. So the first benefit 7,500. Then I went 8,500, 10,000, and 12,000. So I know that that's going to be a good price for her. Me as an agent and a business person, the last thing you want to do is really leave money on the table. But since we're going to be client first, we need to make sure that we're also meeting those clients' needs and not quoting them something that they just don't need in order to get a high commission. That is not the right way to go. I went up to 12,000 because really they're saying in about 10, 12 years, it could be as high as $12,000 for an earth burial. Jane's only 65 years old. She's most likely going to be around for another 20, 25 years, and I want to make sure that the benefit she picks today at the least amount of price based on her age and her health, that she has enough coverage that can last her for a good 20 to 25 years without coming up short, and then she's got to buy something later on for a higher dollar amount that she may or may not qualify for, because if it's one thing we can count on, our health is going to change somewhere between 65 and 80 and 85 years old. So we want to make sure we have give Jane the right amount of benefit, and I haven't left any money on the table while we're sitting there. So before I go over this pitch sheet, I will tell and talk to Jane about what's available to her besides what we're carrying and what I already have in my bag. So I'll always ask the question, Jane, do you know the difference between term and whole life? They will almost always tell you, no, they don't. Term is really kind of like temporary insurance, and AARP has one, and I'm sure you get plenty of mail from AARP, and they will say, yes, they do. They get something just about every bloody day. And I'll say, okay, well, AARPs, they get 5 or 10,000. It's a term policy. It's good for 5 years. Then it expires. The price goes up at that point because you can get it again, but now you're 5 years older, so it's good for another 5 years, expires, price goes up, and kind of keeps on going. The problem with that is going to be that by the time people turn 80 years old, it's gotten so expensive they just can't afford to keep it. The other problem with term is that all of the money that you paid over those years that you've had this thing, when that expires, all that money's gone. You can never get that money back again. So all the stuff that you've paid into this thing over the course of those years is just history. The other thing that I'm sure you're aware of and that you see is Colonial Penn. I mean, I advertise on TV all the time, 35 cents a day, you can get life insurance. Well, what they don't tell you is it's 35 cents a day for $1,000 worth of life insurance. Okay, well, if you want $10,000, let's say, what's that going to cost you? $350 a day? Well, $350 a day times 30 days a week. Okay, you're up to, $90, $100 for that. That's quite a bit of money. And the policy is also graded, which means that during those first 2 years, your family's going to have to wait to get that money. All they're going to get is whatever premiums you paid plus interest. Now, of course, if something happens by accident, yes, they're going to get the whole benefit. But for the most part, people don't die from accidents anymore. With seatbelts in cars, the way the medical technology is these days, you might get hurt pretty bad, you might get maimed, but the chances of dying because of an accident are pretty slim. Now, these right here benefits are going to be all whole life. And what that means for you is that, one, they never expire, so the price never goes up. The benefit itself will never get reduced. And the money that you put in here, it's going to build cash as you keep it, so you'll have access to that later on. And you can always get your money back out of this thing. So whole life is what these are, because we talked and we're meeting today. This is what you qualify for. So here, let me show you what we've got for you. We've got, I started at 7,500, I went to 12,000. With this carrier, we can get as much as 25,000, but based on kind of what our conversation is, I think we fall somewhere into here. At that point, you hand the pitch sheet to Jane. Jane picks a benefit. You pick 10,000. Now it's time to do the application part. And the most important thing to remember when you get to the application as you're filling out the information is to get a check and get a voided check or the banking information before you leave that house that day. When I get to that point of the application, I'll look at Jane and say, okay, Jane, do you have a check that we can void and put with this? And while you're getting that, I'll fill this out. So she comes back, we have the voided check, we have the application. We do have agency folders that are available for all the agents under agent supplies on the agent login. We encourage everybody to get those, as well as get the free brochures that come along with each carrier. Fill those out, put those in the agency folder. It looks very, very professional. Leave your card and you're good. Okay, that's it. Take care.